On Saturday morning, Mr. LaRouche had the following to say about the deal reached between the United States and Russia on the case of Syria.
So there's a change, a global change. Now, whether it will stick or not is not yet certain. But the change has occurred, a change of policy, since the beginning of 2001. When I had the privilege of telling Bill Clinton and his shocked wife that this was headed for that kind of crisis. And that cycle has now been established as completed. It's not final because it can be upset again, but it's there. And therefore what we have to do from here on is to identify that this change has occurred and indicate the qualification that's attached to this term. And say, well, this is what we've had so far. This is implicitly is a fundamental change, or leads toward a fundamental change, if nothing is done to reverse it. But the implication is that the general threat of thermonuclear warfare, which has been hovering over us, is put at some slight distance now, unless somebody starts to restart the whole process again of conflict. Now, and this becomes then very important to what we're doing in things we're publishing now. First of all, what was published here in the Nuclear Nawaba, that's number one, and what I'm doing now is the other part of it. These two things together will be sufficient to trigger our actions on the recognition that a change has occurred, a change which could be successful if it's not screwed up in some way. This is a concession that Putin was successful, at least in some degree. That his speech, his presentation of this past week has clicked in. Now, unless somebody upsets it, and you know that you've got two factors. Wall Street, which means the British Empire, they have been outflanked. That doesn't mean it's going to stick, but that means for the moment they've been outflanked. And what is needed now is we have to put in, which is what we're doing with these two efforts that we're doing, what's been done from the basement, what I'm working on. That becomes the basis for defining a new global policy. Not a local policy, but a global one. A change in the character or the direction of economy. Because we have to change the whole thing. The whole system as it has been cannot work and could never have worked. It's a farce. But it's a farce that's a continuation of what happened since the beginning of the year 2000 in terms of the U.S. election processes. Now that process has been upset. As to whether there's a conclusive upset or not remains to be seen. But we must act and react according to that assumption, that something has happened which is good, which if it carried forward means a new option for mankind, but it could be upset. This is not solid yet, but it's about near as solid as you could get so far. And that's what we have to do. We have to get that across to the population that a possible change, a plausible change in the direction of policy has been introduced by these negotiations overnight between yesterday and today. And we have to work on that, not with the sense that this is guaranteed, but this is something that has happened, and if it sticks, it has implications. And that's what we're going to worry about. We're going to be very happy, so forth, but we're going to worry very much, because this is still fragile and it could be reversed by some incident.
The situation is still quite fragile, There is a great deal of military hardware, aircraft, ships, and troops from the United States, Russia, and others in the Mediterranean region, such that a miscalculation or miscommunication could have disastrous effect. During the past week, Israel launched a ballistic missile as part of a military exercise, which put Russia on the highest alert, mobilizing their strategic defenses as the missile's flight path was in their direction. And over the course of the negotiations, Obama and Secretary Kerry have reaffirmed their intent by refusing language in any agreement which would prohibit a U.S. strike on Syria. Though we do have a fresh opportunity, the tensions have been and remain high. In this context, the Policy Committee was in Washington, D.C. this past week, where the congressional schedule was cleared to debate and vote on whether or not to wage war. With the announcement that the Obama administration was to pursue the Russian offer, the Congress decided to end their week early, breaking session at 11 a.m. on Thursday, the first day of the meetings between Secretary Kerry and Minister Lavrov. Before the Congress broke, we were on the ground with the Nuclear Nawapa 21 report.
We've been reflecting on LaRouche's wisdom and insight and insisting that the Policy Committee focus on bringing people the idea of the future. What happens when Obama, Secretary of State Kerry, and others are removed, as they must be, given Kerry's proposal that the Saudis, among supposedly other Arab states, fund this invasion? They're making treasonous statements and must be removed, and Glass-Steagall must be reinstated to crush Wall Street. But then what? What gives people stability? What can they count on? What can end this era of insanity?
You know, they're getting people coming in, the pink people, the anti-war people, the peace people, so forth, but all they want to do is address the problem, but not actually a solution to dealing with the problem. And the solution is really what Mr. LaRouche laid on the table, that Obama, Kerry, this whole warmongering administration is on the way out, and that we can move forward to the post-Obama recovery plan for the country.
I'm Dave Christie here with Rachel Brown, and we are on Capitol Hill organizing for the new presidency that comes in once Obama goes. Now, what's clear is that there is an amazing amount of response coming from the American population against this war. And on Capitol Hill here is quite a noisy response coming from certain anti-war groups. But what they don't understand is that you cannot just simply stop war. You must secure the peace. And the only way that you can secure the peace is through economic development. And we're at a point now where what the basement research team has done, the LaRouche PAC basement research team, has done is put together that policy. And that policy begins with a thermonuclear fusion driver program. That is the only alternative to thermonuclear warfare.
So what we have reached is a point of the end of a system, a no-growth system and a no-growth ideology of practicality, which has contaminated the thinking of even the best people in our society. So we have to completely reverse this, and that is what we are doing here on the Hill and around the nation now with the new report, Nuclear Nawapa 21, Gateway to the Fusion Economy, which we're distributing around the Hill today and around the country. So this is the way to the future. We have to enter a new era of progress and grasp onto the spirit of mankind and use our creativity to get out of this crisis.
Now, just to finish here, Obama, one way or the other, is going down, whether that's just through the complete, his presidency has turned into an absolute lame duck presidency. We want him out, we want him impeached, but his days are over, and we are now putting together the new presidency as a team, an ability to organize